Hey everybody, Kimberly here, and my goal in this video is to give you a feel for SETI without getting just bogged down by all the small stuff, because this is a heavy game. As BGG says, it is a 3.76 out of 5 complexity rating in 2024 for BGG, the Golden Geek Awards. It won the Heavy Game of the Year, and it also won for the Best Thematic Board Game. So that's one reason why I'd like to get it out here on my channel and on my table. It is a 1 to 4 player game, and it says it takes about 40 minutes per player to play. I have seen reviews and read reviews and have played myself where I feel like perhaps for some groups, especially first-time plays, it's going to be maybe closer to an hour per player, depending on your player's speed. But this game really requires just playing it to understand it. And that's actually the way that I learned it at Board Game Geek Convention. So we just sat down and played the very first round, which there are 5 rounds in this game, by just playing it without really knowing how all of it fit together. Just jumping in and saying, here are the main actions. You can do one action on your turn, and then you can do as many free actions as you want, and then you just go around the table and you play until you can't play anymore, essentially. So this game does feature a mechanic that's not always my favorite. This kind of reminds me back of old school Everdell, where some players got these combos and this goes into this, goes into this, and they just keep playing cards. Meanwhile, somebody's just like out and they're just sitting there waiting for the round to end. And so be ready for that, but hopefully you're playing strategically enough and you know, in a smart enough fashion that you're trying to maximize your turn, do as much as you can without, breaking the bank. But there's going to be a point where you just can't play anymore, and you are going to pass, and it's going to just keep going until every player has passed for the round, and then you'll move on to the next round. But you are essentially searching for extraterrestrial intelligence in this game over the course of 5 rounds. And while there is that mechanic, that feature of the game is not necessarily my favorite, one thing I do like is that there is a massive stack of cards, and these cards are multi-use and remind me a lot of Terraforming Mars, in the sense that there's a lot going on here and you could draw cards and get just dynamite combos. And you could also draw cards and maybe see what I call end game or, later game cards in the early rounds of the game, or you might get those early round cards later in the game. And so, after you play the game a couple times, you start to see some of those, features, and you kind of see how you can manipulate the cards to your advantage depending on what point in the game it is. So there's a lot going on here, and again, not getting bogged down with the minutia. I just really want to talk about some of the features that I like, some of the features that are, challenging or that you should be aware of before you jump into this game. Another thing you'll see here is this is my camera. I pulled all the way back, zoomed all the way out. This is a big game. It's heavy, as I already stated before. But there's a lot that you have to set up for the game. But there's a really cool feature here in the center where this is going to move. And you've got this marker that's going to keep track of which different ring you move in the solar system. You'll see it's marked blue, orange, and yellow, and they will move. Essentially, the center one will move by itself, but when the orange moves, the yellow moves. When the blue moves, all 3 of them move. And so they're kind of stacked on top of each other with, of course, the sun in the center. And then you're going to have some of those planets that come out here. When you visit and send a probe out to a planet, they're going to be up here. And I really love exploring, popping out your little satellite, getting out here and getting all the cool stuff. There are tons of things to come for when you're out here. You have to essentially have an upgrade or a technology to then go to a moon of one of your planets if you're going to a planet. But that's cool. There are so many different features and different ways and avenues to success and to get a lot of, victory points. You might come over to Triton, 26 big victory points. But if you go to some of the other moons, you're going to see, Neptune's pretty far out there too, so it's going to be very valuable. But you might actually see some other things that you're looking for that would be more enticing to you in your gameplay. Over here on this far side, you're going to see 2 out of 5 potential alien factions that you might encounter in the game. And there is a mechanism in the game that essentially triggers some alien activity so that if players aren't necessarily going out there and kind of getting the ball rolling, the game gets the ball rolling as players earn victory points around this track. I think that's a fantastic feature. But it's one of these 5 different alien factions. You got them Mascamites, Anomalies, Centaurians, Oumuamua, Exertions. And so these are going to be the cards that tell you how they play, essentially give you all the different information. So all the cards are here, but you kind of want to keep all of the cards, and there's tons of those, and you flip these over, but there's going to be tons of these little baggies that have more features, more cards, more tokens and things that will go along with the particular alien factions as you continually search for alien life. Now, there are going to be these tiles out here that are open information, and you will essentially pick one side or the other and just play that way, so there's a little bit of variety, and they will give players possibilities for victory points, and this is a race to get to these first. The first player is going to go in that spot that has the first biggest victory point, and then so on. If you get there second or, in the back of the pack, you're still going to get points. But you really want to race to get to those features. I love race features. It gives me an objective. It gives me a goal to go for. And then you're going to see up here, this is the technology. And the technology is really cool because players' boards essentially are going to be in 3 different features. You've got the orange technologies, you've got the pink technologies, and you've got the blue ones. And the blue ones down here are going to essentially trigger when you are gaining these little Dippin' Dots. That's what I call these guys. That's not what they're called in the game. But they're going to kind of build up here in this area until you decide, let's just say you get some upgrades. You're going to get this upgrade. You're going to flip it over and gain what's on the back. Yay. And they're all different. So you put it in there, and then when you start running your machine, you put your dots on as you run things. You can do the mainstream. You could also do the one down here as the optional. And you're essentially gaining everything that's on there. So the technologies are going to allow you to gain more when you run the machine. And boy, is it exciting. Up here, this is going to be anything that's related to your launch a probe, which there is this massive sheet of information. Probe tech, telescope tech, computer tech, how do you score the gold tiles, and then every other icon you can imagine is on this sheet. Every player gets one, so definitely make sure that players are getting this sheet so that they can actually understand the iconography. But this is all about launching a probe and essentially being able to do things more efficiently, and those techs up here are going to give that to you. And then over here you've got your scanning. This is going to help you when you scan to get the little bebops, the Dippin' Dots, to come down here to then do your computers. So interconnected. But when you start playing, you just need to go. Now, this is your individual player board. You've got your little satellites. You got your own little dots you're going to send out into space. There is an area majority. I would like to remind players of some of the features or the mechanics, because sometimes mechanics are not always my favorite, and the area majority is one of those. So when you send out those probes, you're going to have area majority, and it's going to essentially give you bonuses. And you want to have the most, but you have to really time it to make sure that you're sending things out in a particular direction from your cards as well, which there are these yellow, blue, black, yellow, red. This is going to be the specialty, and then blue. And you're going to see those colors are up on the other side of the cards. So this is that multi-feature use. You're going to see the symbol over here. You're going to see the cost right here. You're going to see that there's something down in the bottom corner that you can add to your splay that is your overall income. Every time you gain income, you're going to gain everything that you see on the bottom of your cards, including your start card. So there's a lot here. There's a lot here. But for a heavy game, I think this offers players a nice, juicy, and yes, thematic experience. So I feel like that the Geek Awards really nailed it with the heavy game, the thematic game. It is an investment financially and time-wise and table space. You need the space, you need the players, but you also need to know that this is going to be one of those heavier games. Now, when you have so many cards, there again, the shuffle is going to make a big difference. What you draw is going to matter. I know a lot of people's major complaint with Terraforming Mars is that there's so many cards in the deck. It's really hard to get that right combination without kind of trying super hard to get that combination. And here, yes, the cards are going to matter, but because they're multi-use, it works incredibly well. I also feel like players get to do their technology upgrades, and there's a tile for every player, so there's no race to the technology in the sense that they're going to run out and you're not going to get enough technology. Perhaps like you see the technology upgrades in Eclipse and other science exploration games. So I like that feature a whole lot. I love how the rings move. I love coming up and going to the planets. And of course, you cannot forget the alien tech or the alien experience when you're investing in exploring out to figure out who they are and how they can give you victory points. So this has so much to enjoy. There are some things, if I mention some of the things that you're like, uh-oh, maybe not for me, I would maybe try to see if you can play a copy of this before you invest in it, because again, finances, it's kind of expensive. But if every one of those features and all the other reviews you're seeing in the coverage of SETI looks good to you, you will really enjoy this game. It is clever, it's innovative. I think players have so much that they can do on their turn. While it's just one main action and any free actions, you're always looking ahead to your next turn and you're trying to get as many turns in the round as possible, because once you're done for the round and you have to wait until everybody else is ready to move on. But there's so much here, and again, those avenues, the different like branches you can go down, the different strategies you can employ, kind of endless with this game. And again, with all those really, really cool cards that remind me a lot of Terraforming Mars. So that's going to be my overview of SETI, again, without getting bogged down in all that small stuff, all the minutia. So I was really excited to get that very first taste, the first round at Board Game Geek Convention this last year. And I think that's the best way to play this game, is to just jump into a round without having the 30 to 45 minute explanation of everything. You've got your player aid right here with every icon, every action, everything available to you. And as long as you understand the basics of how a round works, just start, because you can always play again. You can always discover more of those aliens. Again, you only get to play with 2 of the 5 that come in this space box, and you are definitely not going to see all the cards. So it's well worth a learn game, and then you get to play a game. And boy, is it fun. So enjoy the theme, enjoy the juiciness of SETI. I will see you next time, folks. Bye.